Adam, we are back to discussing the debt ceiling, another showdown between Democrats and Republicans, at least the first shot being fired by the House Speaker John Boehner. I'm joined now by Congressman Chris Van Hollen, the Democrat from Maryland, who is the top Democrat on the Budget Committee. And you were there at the Peterson Foundation event yesterday. Maybe you saw the Speaker's comments. Your reaction to the ultimatum that he's put down?
Well, it's a very reckless step to take, reckless for our economy. There's no dispute that we need to reduce our long-term deficits. The issue has been how. Republicans have rejected the balanced approach that every bipartisan group has proposed, and now the Speaker of the House is out there again creating a self-inflicted wound on the economy. This is a manufactured crisis just like it was last August, but it's not harmless. It creates greater uncertainty in the marketplace and hurts the economy. And so those kind of reckless statements should be simply out of bounds. To suggest that the United States is not going to pay its bills, to threaten that we will not abide by the full faith and credit of the United States, is not fiscally responsible. It's fiscally reckless and irresponsible. I would also point out...
Well, let me just ask you this. There's certainly some viewers who might look at what John Boehner's talking about, see the size of the federal deficit right now and say, is it unreasonable to match spending cuts with an increase in the debt ceiling? What's wrong with the Boehner principle in principle?
Well, there are two issues. Number one, they have rejected the balanced approach to deficit reduction that combines cuts, which we have to make, with cuts to a lot of the tax loopholes. So he said, we're only going to do this one way and not in a balanced way, in a lopsided way. Number two, if you look at the House Republican budget, which they passed and the Speaker supports, it requires that you raise the debt ceiling by $5.2 trillion over the next 10 years. So the House Republican budget violates the rule, the principle that was laid down by the Speaker of the House yesterday. You can't have it both ways. That's totally hypocritical. Beyond that, it's reckless in terms of creating uncertainties and laying down these lines when, in fact, what we need to be doing is coming together to find a way to deal with the issue.
We're short on time. We've got this fiscal cliff coming at the end of the year. This debt ceiling is just part of that discussion. For our viewers, for investors out there worried about what's going to happen, are we headed for gridlock?
Well, what I think all of us hope is that all these events will, in fact, force a productive solution. In other words, these are action-forcing events. By law, all the 2001, 2003 tax cuts expire. By law, this sequester will take place. By law, we have to deal with the debt ceiling issue. So the convergence of these events, I hope, will produce a focusing of the minds that leads to a productive result. The danger is it's a combustible cocktail and you get something very bad. It's kind of train wreck. But I'm very hopeful that we'll work together to avoid those issues. But in order to do that, we can't be, making these ultimatums. And number two, people have to be prepared to take a balanced approach to deficit reduction.
A train wreck and a combustible cocktail. But for Chris Van Hollen, Adam and Stephanie, still optimistic, relatively optimistic, something can be worked out.